Okay, the time has finally come. So I posted this DIY on TikTok and it kind of blew up. It got over 100k views for a piece of furniture that I built during the Canadian winter in my tiny balcony and using expandable foam. So I'm going to tell you the full story of how I designed and built this floating TV console that it almost looks like a grotto, like a cave. And I will give you all the materials, the step-by-step process, and all the tools you need. So let's get into it. I recorded everything in vertical, so just please bear with me. So by the time I was living in a very small apartment, so the goal was always making the space feel bigger than what it actually was. So we're gonna see some tips and tricks later that are gonna help us with that. So I started by measuring the full length of the wall. Using that entire length actually tricks the eye into making the wall feel way larger than what actually is. And then I sat across from the wall and I started just sketching. And also I knew I wanted something organic, no hard 90-degree angles, something soft, a little sculptural. So also a floating piece was essential because I didn't want to lose the precious floor space that we need when we want to make a space feel bigger. The more floor space you see, the bigger the space feels like. And I kept sketching until one shape just clicked. Once I had the form, it was time to figure out how to actually build this thing. So now it comes the time where we need to think about the structure of this piece. I knew the skeleton had to be solid, so I used 2 long wood panels, each 25 centimeters deep and about 1.5 meters long. We need to have something in mind, and is that the total length of the wall was around 2.5 meters. But because we need 50 centimeters on each side for the round shape, that's why 1.5 meters long wood panels. Then for the vertical support, I added 2 shorter panels, same depth and around 40 centimeters high, spaced evenly like a T-shape inside kind of thing, but just with 2 vertical panels. Then I went a little overboard with security, 16 metal brackets, 2 on each side of the vertical panels. If this thing fell off the wall, it wouldn't be because I cut corners, no way. And then we go to the creating shape part. For this part, we have to use the metal mesh. It had to be bendable enough to curve, but strong enough to hold shape. I bought a roll of medium weight mesh and used gloves and heavy-duty scissors to cut and curve into these soft oval forms on both sides. I nailed it onto the structure using nails with large heads, or you can hammer the ends flat to keep them from pulling through. So now we go to what I thought was the most enjoyable part of the process, but that's actually one that's more enjoyable than this one. And this is the expandable foam. Once the frame held together, I brought out the fun and dangerous part as well. We need to use glasses, we need to use a face mask and gloves. So the insulation foam, I sprayed it on one side first, creating volume and texture, and left intentional gaps here and there. This wasn't supposed to be perfect, kind of like wabi-sabi vibes. And I let that dry, flipped it, and did the other side. And yes, I was doing all of this on my balcony in the snow. It was just freezing. Then the foam cures hard, which is exactly what I needed. Then we go to the actually most enjoyable part of everything, and it's the shaping and the texture part. I used a heavy-duty cutter and about 1 million blades because the foam dulls them really fast. So this is also where my TikTok blew up. So people noticed that I was cutting towards my wrist. Please don't do that. Always cut away from your body. But I survived, and then the shape turned out exactly how I imagined. I just couldn't believe I did that. And then we go to the finishing part. I wanted a white matte finish, almost like Adobe. So I mixed this Dryden spackling paste with Gorilla Glue and some water, then I applied it everywhere. I used two brushes for this. I wasn't gonna be able to use those brushes anymore because of the glue. So yeah, but you just need a couple of brushes for this. I just did one layer or maybe one and a half. I was trying to redo the layer as I saw it. And I added 2 to 3 full coat of acrylic paint. I basically went to the hardware store and I found some acrylic paints on sale, and I just got one of those. It has to be matte finish. This combo dried hard, had some texture, and really sealed the foam really well. And the finish was just soft, earthy, minimal, almost primitive kind of feeling. And now we needed to hang that thing onto the wall. So here is where I should have planned better. I didn't figure out the wall mounting until the very end. And I guess that helps because I knew I was gonna figure it out, but now I know that I should have planned ahead of time. I used 2 big L brackets and drawable anchors, one set near the bottom and one set near the top. Why both? Because it started to tilt forward from the weight. If I had planned this from the very start, I could have hidden the supports better, but I managed it somehow, so it's not as bad as it could have been. And then the final touches. I added some books for styling and even installed a warm LED strip on the back. It glows at night and it adds a little drama to the piece. It's subtle but really elevates the whole thing. Maybe it's not that subtle, but it is for me. So that's basically how I built this floating sculptural TV console from scratch in the winter time on a balcony using a lot of foam and a lot of vision. This TV console was an experiment. I used no tools, it was just a handmade process to create something unique. I designed it to feel kind of like ancient, primitive, sculptural and soft. And yes, it's fortunately hanging safe on my wall. And if you love pieces like that, if you like this kind of a style, follow along. I have more ideas coming soon. And see you next time.